Bobby Slowik is drawing more and more interest as a head coaching candidate. I'm pretty much sick about it. Here he is answering a question about how he's handling all these interview requests.
It's really easy to handle right now. We're locked in on Cleveland. We're full speed ahead.
Well, that sounds straightforward enough, and we'll just take that at face value. We know better than that. Personally, I like Bobby Slowik a lot. I think he's done an incredible job with CJ Stroud. I'd love to see him stick around for at least one more year. I know not all of you feel that way. I am going to address that a little bit later. Here's the rest of that answer. I want you to listen very closely and tell me whether he's leaving himself a good amount of wiggle room here.
Right now, I'm a Houston Texan. I'm part of this organization. I'm going to do everything I can to help us win Cleveland. And like everyone's energy right now in this organization is devoted to how do we play one more game? How do we keep just playing one more game? We really have what I believe is a special group of individuals. I know, like, offensively, there's guys in that room that I just can't imagine having to do this without right now, and to really, as much as we can, just find a way to get 4 more games out of this. That's really all of us are devoted to.
That right now, the right now is what matters. I mean, go ahead and tell your spouse, I love you right now. That's not a permanent answer. So, no, that's not a surprise. That's not an illusion. He should be thinking about eventually these other options. That's the way the NFL operates. That's how D'Amico Ryans got his job. That's how Kyle Shanahan before D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowik got his job. So that's nothing to be secretive about. I do think that before the Browns game, early in the process, this is probably all very true. I don't know exactly how closely he's examined his options. I do know he was pretty emphatic when Brandon Scott asked a follow-up about whether he'll consider taking any of those interviews.
Haven't even thought about it. Like, I won't have much information for you guys. I'm being honest. Like, it's just everything right now is on Cleveland.
And that does make sense. I think the Texans were finishing the season in a flurry, trying to get CJ Stroud back out on the field, trying to protect him. And now all of a sudden they're in the playoffs with a little bit of room to breathe, perhaps after this week, either with a victory or a loss. I think that's when he'll probably examine his options. And teams don't seem to be as much in a hurry to hire guys immediately anymore. So usually I react to these press conferences through the filter of, oh, okay, how does this affect the Texans this week? And I'll do that again, but really I picked the questions and answers that I thought GMs and billionaire owners would find most interesting or intriguing. So I'm going to listen to those answers through that filter. You can play along, and I'm going to tell you who I think the biggest threats are, the best possible landing spot for him if he does leave, and also why I think some of his detractors are not seeing the entire picture. Here he is answering a question about having interchangeable personnel, I believe especially amongst the receiving corps.
Yeah, that was very intentional, coming into the season that we did that. Yeah, obviously in San Francisco, that's kind of how that offense was built. I was lucky and fortunate enough to be there kind of when that evolution happened. And we really started getting different pieces like that with guys that could play multiple positions. And really, you just see how freeing it is as someone who has a game plan, as a play caller, but also it's freeing for the quarterback.
Yeah, that's going to be right up a GM's alley. GMs already think that way, but they want to see a guy who can implement it. Also, very good to invoke the name of San Francisco there when you're talking to these other guys, because they've seen these other Kyle Shanahan assistant coaches go on and implement the Kubiak Shanahan system pretty damn effectively. So when it comes to the interchangeability of personnel and how it might help out some future franchises' young quarterback the way it's helped out CJ Stroud, I think one calling card that this offense could have on behalf of Bobby Slowik would be Tank Dell. Because Tank Dell, I think the immediate reaction is you think, oh, wow, the little guy is going to be a slot receiver. When in fact, Tank Dell took the vast majority of his snaps on the outside. 370 snaps wide, 114 snaps on the inside. And that wasn't really a huge surprise to people, but I think it's a great illustration of how you use these guys all over the place. Bobby uses a lot of pre-snap motion. Teams love seeing that. That looks like an advanced modern NFL offense. So there are a lot of things he's doing with this offense with a rookie quarterback who has excelled in some record-breaking ways. They're going to really love hearing that. And I think, honestly, the two teams that are going to be most open to that are the ones that have former 49ers personnel people as their GMs. So the Tennessee Titans have Rand Carthon, and the Washington Commanders just hired Adam Peters, who's been with the 49ers these last few years. They understand the philosophy, they understand the terminology, they understand the team building, and presumably there's a pretty good chance they're all on board and think somewhat similarly. Now, it doesn't mean, and it's not a guarantee, that those two guys like Bobby Slowik, but it's very easy to envision them being very receptive to everything Bobby is saying. Next question was on having quarterback CJ Stroud back for this matchup.
I think we all get excited anytime CJ's under center. You can see what he does. You can see how efficient in his decisions, and when he's throwing, where he's going with the ball, how efficient he is in that stuff, and in particular how much he's grown in understanding like when is the right time to be aggressive and when's the right time to just make sure I'm getting the ball out, which I thought he did a phenomenal job against Indianapolis doing exactly that. And that's something we just got to carry over into this week. Anytime you face a tough front, we got to be willing to distribute the ball pretty fast and then take advantage when we get opportunities. We got to make sure we're hitting those opportunities down the field.
He keeps nailing this, and he's done this all season long. He's shown a lot more personality than a lot of people expected to. I think he's been very good in front of the camera. He kind of laughs and jokes. He handles tough questions without getting ruffled at all. There's a lot to like about him from a GM or an owner's perspective when they go back and do some of these research. They like doing these podium tests. He has not shied away from that at all. But what he said there about CJ, he's grown in understanding when it's the right time to be aggressive and when it's the right time to make sure I'm getting the ball out. And that is all true. CJ has grown immensely in that regard. I don't think Bobby would take credit for it, but he's going to get some credit for it from these guys interviewing him. CJ's maturity level is off the charts. He's made adjustments in a way that a lot of quarterbacks don't until their third or fourth year, if ever. And this is a guy who's very aggressive downfield. So he's got the personality that he wants to push the ball downfield, and yet he doesn't throw interceptions. Only Tom Brady and Joe Montana have led the league in passing, while at the same time also leading the league in interception rate. So incredible judgment, and it's gotten better as the season has gone along. He knows all the cliches. Don't go broke taking the profit, take what the defense gives you, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there are Texans fans who are not happy with Bobby Slowik. I get frustrated at times with how inept and incompetent the run game is, and Bobby has been steadfast in sticking with it throughout the season, mostly to set up the play action. There's an article in The Athletic in which Austin Mack gave the reasons the teams could or could not win the Super Bowl. So don't go crushing Austin Mack. He did this for every single team. But he pointed out with the Texans, they get stuck running the ball too much. I know they like to set up shot plays by lulling teams to sleep with their early down runs, but Stroud is different and they need to unleash him. I'd be much more okay with running the ball as often as they do on early downs if they were efficient, but they're not. In fact, they're in the bottom 10 of the league when running on early downs. They rank 23rd in EPA per rush, 24th in rushing success rate, and 28th in first downs per rush. That sounds really bad. They're essentially lighting early downs on fire. If they don't break tendency, they'll leave a lot to be desired with how Stroud has been playing. I have a rebuttal to this. This next question and answer is relevant, though, so I'm going to play that first. This is Bobby Slowik on the importance of the offensive line play this season.
Yeah, it's been fun to see. Rarely has it felt like we've had a consistent five out there. It's really been the whole offensive line room, and how they've gone out and they've performed every week. They've understood and taken to heart that like we're going to do everything we can to make sure our quarterback doesn't get hit, and in the run game we're going to do everything we can to make sure Motor and DP have some holes they can run through. It means a lot to them, and it's a very, very different scheme than what was here before.
They have been playing with a shuffled up offensive line from the very beginning. They had 4 backup offensive line to start the season. Stroud got sacked 12 times in the first 2 games. They changed things up. Stroud grew. The offensive line steadily grew more competent, got back to health. They've been able to run the ball somewhat better over the second half of the season, and they've done a better job protecting him. But that play action is integral to that part of it. So when you say you can't play this way, given how CJ Stroud has played so far, You can't separate the play action and being able to have all those extra bodies in pass protection from the way CJ Stroud is played. You cannot let CJ cook with these ingredients. This is like cooking dehydrated pasta on a Coleman camp stove. It's just, he does not have the people around him to sit back in empty formations and then just pick and choose your way down the field. It's just not that offensive personnel. They've had to make do with some really promising young players in some respects, but some big headaches otherwise. Literal headaches. CJ's got a concussion partly because of the play of the offensive line. Okay, exclusively because of the play of the offensive line. So I take what I saw, which was a rookie of the year caliber performance, and I'm reminded of the plot of the Philadelphia Eagles, where, man, they looked really good with a young quarterback when Shane Steichen was their offensive coordinator. Shane Steichen's gone, and now everything has fallen apart. By the way, Shane Steichen was with Justin Herbert back in his rookie year, and it wasn't the same after he left. So for at least 2 years, I want my rookie quarterback to have some consistency, and I hope, honestly, Bobby Slowik, look, he's got to take that money if he gets offered that money. It's a lot of money, but only if it's the right situation. I'm really nervous that the Commanders, with that number 2 overall pick, this is eerily similar to last year where the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, but maybe they don't want it. Maybe they want to roll their dice with Justin Fields again, and the Texans are sitting at number 2. Worked out great this past year. I don't know if lightning can strike twice in that regard. You hear me, Bobby? Not so easy to find a CJ Stroud. So I really want Bobby to stick around. I'm going to say there's a 68% chance that he's still here in Houston. And hopefully it's something, as a Texans fan, as a former Texans player, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Seth Payne, played 10 years in the NFL, 5 years for the Houston Texans. Now I cover them on Sports Radio 610 here in Houston. I want him to stick around for at least one more year. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. Everybody have an awesome, awesome week.